documented. Mostly motivation, getting rid of documentation in case you might find it useful. So, I'm Mateu Hunter. I work for Campus Explorer, and home base is Missoula, Montana. And if this is streaming, I give a shout out to the people in the corporate office and those in Cyberland. So, okay. So, to get this thing going, you need a Git. You need Mongo or DBM Deep as your data store. So I'm going through the prerequisites here. And about 30 different CPAN modules. The configuration file is real basic. It's just a hash or hash ref. You need at least to say what your static URL is, so where your CSS or JavaScript is going to be located. And you need to say where the Git repo is, because this will store your documents in a Git repo, and it has a dual backend, the Git repo, and then the Mongo or DBMD where the hash ref page structure is stored. I'll show in a moment. And you can specify between two different document storages. There's Mongo, which I've been using, and Mongo's not the greatest thing for everybody. So I thought, well, let's throw another backend option into the equation, and played around with DBMD, which is interesting, if not slow. Okay, so talked a little bit about backend. How does that delegation take place? So I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, how am I going to, delegate to one of these two backends? If I put the document storage type in the configuration file, then I basically use that to load the proper backend. So you'll see down below here that this is using the typical Moo or Moose delegation. So it has an editor. The editor has some handles, and it's built then during object construction in the build routine that you get both in Moose and Moo. At that point, it just says what's the name from the configuration. If it's Mongo, let's load the Mongo backend. If it's the DBMD, use that one. Okay, so what does a page look like? From a dump, this is actually the skeleton dump that will be added to Data Printer. Super cool module. I'm glad I found out about it. But this is actually from Data Skeleton, which I wrote around Halloween. And so I was thinking of a name. I was like, what kind of name? I just want to see the keys, not the values on these deeper data structures. This isn't that deep, but here it is. So soon enough, though, Data Printer will have this as an option to be able to just print your keys in an arbitrarily deep structure. The design on this, what I wanted to do, I borrowed a lot from Mojito. So I worked on Mojito a bit, and this project really came out of the need for notes. I had an old antiquated note system where I'd write personal notes, just maybe even hack out a code snippet, start writing. If you're kind of at a block and you want to achieve something, just start writing some notes. A little bit of literate programming, or just a little bit of get the brain flowing. So this note system, this is the version 2. I said, let me borrow some of the things from Mojito. One of the things Mojito lacked, in my opinion, was you were stuck with one format for your entire site. So you either had Markdown or you had textile. And, at the time I preferred textile. My buddy liked Markdown, and so we were battling. It's like, why should we battle? So let's just give the user choice. So the way the choice is incorporated is through sections. We'll see in a Mojito document that you can have markup of different flavors in the same document. So that's part of the nested feature. So sections will have a class to them, and that class will say what, is it Markdown, is it textile, is it something maybe I just want to highlight? Okay. You see that? Delegation, again, behind the scenes, there's this page object that will delegate to the parser when I need to parse the stuff from the page that you've written, or delegate to the render when I want to turn that Markdown into HTML, and then page CRUD, which is going to read the things from the data store or write them to the data store. So delegation for me has worked pretty well when you're designing an API. Right. So I've got this data, using MongoDB is no SQL, right? But it doesn't mean it's schemaless. That's, I think, a false statement to believe. So you do have to keep track of your schema if you're semi-serious about it, and you can actually validate your schema using data schema. This is a class I came across, and you'll see in there the sections, which I've got SX, ES, those have to be an array of hash refs with the required keys of content and class. And then the Mojito definition further down about midway, that's going to be a hash with the required key of sections, which I previously defined as those SX, XXs. And it has some other attributes to that data schema. And then you just call DS validate to see if a Mojito page actually matches up with that schema. So I thought that was fairly nice. I run this just in one of my tests, that test suite. So if I do change the schema, I'll kind of know. All right, so Mojito Markup, really, I was sitting there thinking, okay, how do I want to do this? I want this to be short. Again, on Mojo, we're talking about how to do, we call them plugins or filters or shortcuts is what I call them. But in this case, I wanted to identify a section. And I was going to use the HTML section, HTML5 section. So my short is SX, so you can have kind of fun with that. And it's 2 letters to type. So it's short, easy type. And then the dot, whatever. And that could be markdown, that could be textile, that could be Perl if I want to highlight it. As we'll see. Now, this Mojito actually runs in 4 different frameworks, so there's some Acmeism involved there amongst frameworks. The one I use the most, though, for development is Web Simple. Here's a Web Simple app. It's super simple. It's nice. It's just use Web Simple. You've got this dispatch request sub. In that, then you build your, you have a list of subs in that will handle your routes. You can call that Hola Yapsi directly with Perl and a path, in this case slash, and it will give you back the content and content type. So it's nice for kind of seeing what you have. And of course, you can start it up as a full-blown PSGI application by Plackup. Some of the routes, the page ID one we'll look at here. When I was abstracting this to run under different frameworks, you realize there's this consistent theme, consistent pattern of you have a route, and you basically have a route handler. You can give it a name. You're going to have a request method, a get, post, what have you. You're going to have the request handler, in this case, is view page. And you're going to have some parameters. You're collecting parameters. It's always what you're doing. So collecting parameters, and you're going to process them. So the view page is kind of like my app, the method that will handle it, the response handler. Response type, HTML, or it could be a redirect, or it could be JSON, and a status code. So that really defines each one of the snippets of these subs that would be in the Web Simple application or the Dancer application, which there's a talk going on now, and there's one later on that. And Mojolicious, there's a talk later on that if you're interested at some point. So here's the view page method. It doesn't have any dependencies on the actual framework used. It's just all written in my app. So you get your params, you read from the database, the page, you render it. And then I'm doing kind of this dirty regex for my templates. I started off with just here docs, right? Everybody tells you not to use regexes, which is true, but that's what I'm using for now. If I wanted to change, I'd probably do HTML Zoom or Mojo's DOM, ways to get in there and replace content within a specific tag. Let's see. Actually, when was Moose first released to CPAN? Anybody know?
6 years ago.
6 years ago. Okay. You're the winner of the first piece of swag. I've got 3 T-shirts here. Or
Was it 6?
yeah, it's 2006. I think. Just looked it up today. Or you can have some moose incense. This is actually moose dung, moose caca,
I'll take the moose dung.
and it smells good.
Awesome.
They eat willows and aspens and
I got something to put in my son's pillow.
yeah. So, when you're hanging out with MST, you bring your moose incense. I jumped ahead here to, using roles. I build a role and then find out, I need this in a script. So I just turn it into a class, which most of you probably know this technique, but it's a handy technique. Just build the class and consume the role, and then you can use it in a script, so you don't have to use it in another class, which is normally where your roles are. This is just an aside dealing with roles and modifiers. So let's say I've got this role here with the talk method, and it's got a method modifier after. And then I've got a consumer of the role that also has a talk method. Now, when I invoke that talk method, what's going to happen? Anybody? We're a piece of swag? Guesses? You don't have to be right. So I'm going to call talk in the package that consumed a row that also had talk with the method modifier.
Can you scroll up again so I can see the?
Yeah. Yeah, let's get that.
I mean, I already got swag. I can answer this one. I'm sure there's some people who can shot.
Right.
Logan, I know you can do it. Oh.
I would imagine for the consumer.
The consumer's going to override the talk, so you won't get the talk from the row, but you will get the method modifier. You will get the after. I had no idea. That was thanks to Thomas Doran, Tom, that informed me of that one day. He's doing a talk as well, messages and logging frameworks. So keep him in mind. So that's just a tidbit I thought was pretty cool. Now, Moo has been changing a bit. Moo's trying to adapt more and more to be able to, well, allow you to migrate to using Moose. Migrate to Moose or actually just use Moose. So what can you do now today? You can extend a Moo class. So Mojito's a Moo-based class. You can extend that. You can use Moose to do so. You can also consume Moo roles within a Moose class. And furthermore, you can actually, in this case, this my type uses MooX types moose-like, the string, and that will just work. It will actually use the moose X, or in this case, the internal, the built-in string. So it will inflate the moose type object when you use moose with a Moo row. That's thanks to MST. So collections. One of the features here is our collections. You're actually seeing a collection now. This is my presentation. My presentation is done in Mojito. We're stepping through a sequence of documents. So you can put together a set of documents and sort them and then run through them as we are now. And you can then page through them as we do, and you can merge a collection, and you can also publish, in some sense, a collection. So we'll see that in a moment. Shortcuts, borrowing from Mojito, or from Mojo. Table of contents, it's kind of nice to have, so you can do these shortcuts with these double curly brackets. TLC will start with H2 and beyond. If I wanted to start at H1, I just have a 1 dash and catch them all. CPAN shortcuts, so you can get a URL for a CPAN module or a meta CPAN URL. And gist, you can get the gist URL ID if you want to embed some gist. And that last one is actually, we'll pull up the last 10 synopses on CPAN, which I've been fooling around with. That's a bit finicky when you're trying to parse everybody's synopsis. It does publish to Mojo if you give it some configuration. You tell what's the base URL and give it the credentials, and you'll have that as an option from my page. This I wrote a little bit about. There's an article on rendering Mojo. If you just connect up with the Mojo data store, so you got it's DBIX class, so you get your DSN for that schema, and you can then pass in the page name, which you'll see I get from the path. It's the last item in the path. Pass that page name in, then I can find that document in the Mojo's database, and then render it with Mojito, because it's going to be marked down or textile, which is handled already. So I just got to figure out which format is it in, which is stored in the Mojo documents. So it can do things on its own. So let's see a little bit of a demo then, because that's really why I'm here, I guess. Right, new page. Here's your new page. This again borrows from Mojo a bit. It's a split view. You'll see in a moment. But you have your choices for textile, markdown, Creole. I just thrown in there to see how easy it was to add another flavor. Don't really use Creole too much, although it seems fine. HTML or pod. Now, so if I want to do some textile, now, okay. So I have that, and then you see it render on the right. So there's some little Ajax-y stuff going on behind the scenes that will grab that content after you let up off your keys, and after whatever seconds, and then send it to the back end and get it rendered and display it there in the text area. Now, at this moment, nothing's safe. If it crashes, I've lost my content. But if I want to start getting this automatic save going on, which is a feature that was lacking in Mojo, so this is one I added. So let's say at this point it's going to commit it to the get back end. When I press create, it's going to commit it so I can, have a new tag or whatever. So this would be my commit message at that moment. That's done. By default, I'm leaving you in edit mode. Now, whenever you write, at that moment, or within a couple seconds, it's saved. So it's auto-save. So it's kind of nice, because if you do start writing a bit in here and you get some big documents and you forget to save the damn thing, and you walk away and your kid closes the browser, it'll be there for you. And now, the other day I was thinking, sometimes you want that just little sticky note. You want it small, right? So I thought, well, let's break from the split view and let's go to the toggle view. And so now I can just have a little bitty text area. I can resize it wherever I want up on my desktop, so it's not in the way. So the toggle view is kind of nice in that sense. It's usable. Now, recently, and then I also added the ability to assign this document to a feed. This the UI is really basic, but you click on that and you get a text input, and you can say Iron Man or whatever it is, and it's going to be assigned to a feed at that moment, which is just going to be a collection of documents that you can access. I should be careful with the word collection. A list of documents that you can access and also get an Atom feed of. The collections part, actually here I can assign it to a collection. And so I can assign it to, the only collection I have right now is Mojito Undocumented. I can assign it to that. Okay. Actually, at that point, yeah, let's go into the collections a little bit. So here is this collection. If you want to create a new one, what it does is just lists all the documents. Obviously, if you got a lot, that's going to be maybe too much information, but they're listed in order of chronological order. So you can give it a collection name. And then this is from jQuery UI. It's kind of nice. You can do the drag. So it's a little faster than having to select them all where mouse clicks. Create the collection. You got a collection. Now this test one, there it is. They're ordered. If I don't like the order, I can sort them in this from the jQuery UI. Oh, that needs to be up there. So there's a little shininess for you if you want to show anybody, and it works. Order that collection at that point. Okay. And then let's see. We said it merges. So if I want to try to publish something here, and I've got these chapters, and I want to merge it into something complete here, then here it is with the TLC, the table of contents, the full document just all merged together. So that's nice if you are writing that much, that you want that structure. And it will actually try to do a EPUB. I have Calibre on the back end as an option that will try and publish, that we will publish an EPUB, but the format on that is still kind of working with that. It breaks it at every H. So if you got H1, H2, H2, you're going to have 3 different pages, which may or may not be useful. Okay. Let's see. Anything else that I promised, or any questions? We got still more. Yeah, no one. Someone's got to win some swag. Okay, let's see. Who created Data Printer? Okay. Shirt or dumb?
Well, I'd go dumb, definitely.
Okay.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And then what else to give away here? Where's Moose Drool out of?
Canada.
West Yellowstone.
Where am I from? Missoula, Montana. Okay. There are, that was back here. I got an L and an XL.
Excellent.
Yeah. That's easy. And this one would be really nice. This one's Trout Slayer, and this is girl size. So, actually, what says it both players? Yeah, Trout Slayer. Someone's saying that'd be funny. I think MST had enough making fun of his name growing up, I guess. So to me, trouts are actually incredible creature. Here's for the ladies, if anybody wants one, and the other. Questions at this point? Yeah.
So back when you had the page that you had the 4 different input methods, and the tabs with 4 different input methods, when you type in one, when you switch to one of those other tabs, does it automatically, like when you type in textile and then you switch to markdown, does it convert that, or can you switch back and forth, or how does that work?
That's a good question. You have an implicit format to that page, and right now it's markdown, and it's set at creation time. So when you create the page, then you commit to an implicit format. So in this case, let's see, I can go with textile, but I can also put in markdown. So it doesn't really matter which one you choose. It's, people generally have a preference. Now, I set my default, which is configurable in the comp. You can set your default to be textile or markdown, either one. But you can change it at creation time. Yeah, that's a good question. And then that's saved with the document as part of its attributes. Its default wiki format.
So if you click on, if you click on HTML right now, what exactly shows up? Or you click on markdown? Oh, nothing.
Well, now when we haven't changed the content yet, so it doesn't re-render yet. But if I hit it, now it thinks it's just HTML.
Oh, okay.
So we'd need H1 to do that. So that was the idea. Was I didn't want to take away HTML. I wanted to give you HTML as an option. You get these. This is I wouldn't put this on a public-facing website with anonymous user access at this point, because you can do HTML in here. You can write JavaScript and all that. It's more for personal use, and it does, it has digest authentication right now to get into it. So you can set it up. I mean, I run it on the web, but it requires a user account. Which brings up a point at the very bottom here. You can make pages public. So you're writing, you got these mostly personal notes, but once in a while you want to throw something out there. You can turn a document into public, and then you just put public in the URL, and it's available. So that's kind of nice because if you write a decent enough document and want to publish it, then you can do that readily enough. All right, let's see. I got 2 more things to give away here. Somebody's got to take me up on it. I don't want to go back with it. What's MST talking on? Discovery, okay. You want the brown or the?
The brown.
And Miyagawa, what's he talking on? Polygamy of languages, right?
Becoming a polyglot.
All right. So you got a girlfriend or something?
Sure.
And that's it for me, I think, unless there's any other questions. Thanks a lot.